Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Irene and Neptune, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Thank you for having me. You are welcome to today's program, which is the foundations of knowledge management in HRM. This course has been developed for purposes of enhancing our skills and knowledge as human resource managers, because we all understand that knowledge management is one of the key components of human resource management, and that it is unthinkable to have human resources who do not have knowledge. So in this course, we are going to look at the foundations of knowledge management in human resource management, particularly on the understanding that we operate in a global environment where knowledge economy has emerged as an important element of managing people in organizations. All organizations, whether small, medium, or large, require knowledgeable people who are, one, innovative, two, creative, and three, can deliver services to attain the organizational objectives. The objective of this course are threefold. One, to bring to us an understanding of the principles of knowledge management and their role in human resource leadership. By principles, we mean the guidelines that help us to understand knowledge management, what it is, how it works, its strategic role, and the emerging issues in this field. The second objective is to identify areas in knowledge management where we can enhance the HR functions like recruitment, training, performance management, compensation, as well as employee relations. The third objective is to put up a case for the use of knowledge management in organizations as a strategic tool to help organizations achieve its corporate objectives. This is on the understanding that we operate in a competitive environment, and organizations that succeed in this environment are those that have the right skills, knowledge, experience, and abilities of people. By way of introduction, I can say that organizations have now started recognizing that employees are the most important asset, as it were, and therefore it is important for them to manage the knowledge that is held by its people. Knowledge is a deep understanding of something. It could be knowledge in human resource management, knowledge in finance, knowledge in information technology, knowledge in production, among other areas. So this deep understanding helps us to make decisions related to our field, especially in human resource management. So many of our employees have different types of knowledge that they hold, and therefore it is important to identify who has which type of knowledge and how can organizations leverage on this knowledge that is held by its employees. And again, organizations are leveraging on this intellectual capital which is in the form of experience, information, skills, and innovations, which help them to produce goods and services to serve customers better. So how do organizations leverage this? It is by allocating people with the right skills and knowledge, the right jobs, and also investing in these people so that they can continue enhancing their skills and being innovative. Thirdly, as part of my introduction, I have indicated there that knowledge management can be used to enhance talent development as well as preserving institutional memory. Talent development has to do with sharpening people's skills, knowledge, and abilities. The way of doing this is through training or through mentorship and coaching or through experience. So when we manage this knowledge management or we manage our knowledge resources, we are likely to be very successful in developing talent. And we don't just develop talent for the sake of it. It will help us to ensure that we have a pipeline of people when we are preparing the succession plans in our organizations. Through succession plans, we are able to retain our skilled and knowledgeable employees. So in this way, when we manage knowledge successfully, we are not likely to have a shortage of labor in the future because we have a pool of talented employees who can deliver services for us for a long time. What are the drivers of knowledge management, which has made it to emerge as an important element in organizations? There are quite a number of these drivers, one of which is a shift towards a knowledge-based economy. What do I mean by a knowledge-based economy? This is where organizations and the countries leverage on their human capital to grow and produce goods and services to achieve a competitive advantage. What are the characteristics of a knowledge-based economy? One is high value education and training. That when a country or an organization has highly educated people, they are likely to produce quality goods and services, as well as being innovative. Secondly is ICT. Information communication technology is used as a way of managing knowledge. How is that? By capturing, storing, sharing, and disseminating knowledge through ICT. So we can use information technology to produce goods and services or to manage knowledge. The third characteristic is globalization, that we operate in a globalized economy where we are interconnected. What has facilitated this interconnection? One is technology, two is communication, and three, transport. So in a global market, we can share knowledge resources, not only within the country, but outside. So we get to know what is happening in other countries and markets, which we can take advantage of. And the last one is improvement in technology like AI, Internet of Things, as well as cloud computing. These are digital tools that organization can take advantage of to get access to new employees or even new markets. So to say that we operate in a knowledge-based economy, it means that we are going to leverage on the characteristics of these economies, which I've mentioned, to achieve higher value for our organizations. Secondly, is the need for a competitive advantage. For an organization to be said to have a competitive advantage, then it's said to be better in terms of 1, human resources, 2, goods and services, and 3, information technology. If an organization is better than others, then it's likely to have a competitive advantage. In terms of knowledge management, organizations that have highly skilled and knowledgeable people are likely to have this competitive advantage. More so when these human resources are rare, unique, and cannot be imitated. This knowledge should therefore be unique, rare, and inimitable for an organization to have a competitive advantage. And for that reason, there is need for organizations to capture, store, and share critical knowledge resources which can help them achieve this competitive advantage. Thirdly, is globalization and workforce mobility, where I've said that globalization is the interconnection among people and places through improvements in technology, communication, and transport. Workforce mobility has to do with movement of people in and out of organizations or countries. So when people move out of an organization, that is said to be turnover. And they can move out of a country to other countries. And they can also move into our country, for example, from other countries as well, if we have opportunities to hire experts from outside. So staff turnover requires that we retain these key knowledge assets in the form of employees. And how do we retain them? By compensating them competitively and also creating an environment where they can perform their work effectively. We all know that high turnover is very expensive, and therefore every effort must be made to ensure that our employees don't leave, especially those with the key skills and the knowledge that we need. So through globalization, people can move out to other countries, and that can be a loss. And therefore, because of this mobility, we need to retain our key knowledge assets, which are the people. Number 4 is the digital transformation and the use of AI in human resource management. In the recent past, we have witnessed a growth in the utilization of artificial intelligence. Examples of this intelligence include ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and Gemini. How are these used in organizations? They are used to capture, store, and share knowledge. So through AI, we are able to ensure that we get the right knowledge from within and outside, keep this knowledge in the form of documents, and also customize this knowledge to suit our requirements. So digital transformation is a key driver which has made knowledge management to be a very important component in human resource management. And then Second last is the increase in learning, focus on learning and development. Learning is about acquiring skills and knowledge. Development is about expanding the knowledge base, which is good for our organizations. So how do we develop this knowledge? Through further training, mentorship, and coaching, so that our organizations can acquire new skills and knowledge through training. The last driver of knowledge management is the changing nature of work. After COVID-19, organizations have adopted remote working, that means working from home, and others have adopted flexible working methods. These flexible methods might mean like shift working, home working, or compressed work weeks, where people can share knowledge even from wherever they are using technology. So remote working and flexible work methods demands new knowledge sharing systems, which require ICT interventions. So having said that, I will want us to move to the next part, which is the concept of knowledge management. As I have indicated earlier, knowledge is a deep understanding of something. We can also say that it is information that has been processed, organized, and contextualized. In this definition, we are looking at knowledge as a composite of different pieces of information, which is put together to form knowledge. For example, having information about recruitment and selection may not mean that somebody has knowledge of HRM. That is only one part of knowledge. Or somebody has information about training and development. That is not understanding of HRM. So all the functions of the understanding of recruitment, training, performance management, compensation, and others now form the knowledge of human resource management. So somebody with a deep understanding of human resource management, therefore, has knowledge of HRM. And this knowledge is about all the functions of a HR manager. How do we acquire this knowledge? We acquire knowledge through study, experience, and reflection. By study, we mean going to school, either primary, secondary, college, or university, where we learn different courses. We all studied human resource through our college, and therefore we gained knowledge by attending classes in schools, colleges, and universities. Secondly, we can acquire knowledge through experience. It is said that experience is the best teacher. What does a teacher do? A teacher creates knowledge among his or her students. So experience creates knowledge in us. That if we do an activity like recruitment and selection or training, we acquire skills and knowledge, and that becomes our experience. On reflection, this is about thinking or reasoning about various aspects of life, including human resource management. So when people think about their roles in organizations, they are able to come up with knowledge of what they are supposed to be doing, how, where, and when. And through this knowledge, which we have acquired through education, experience, and reflection, we are able to make informed decisions, solve problems, and achieve goals. When we talk of informed decisions, these are decisions based on data. When you put data together, you create knowledge, either through research or through reading. So once you get this data, you analyze the data, interpret that data, and then make decisions. So today, as HR managers, we make decisions based on data. And that is what they call data-based decision making. So informed decisions are those that are based on data that has been collected through study, through experience or reflection. And we also solve problems. All our organizations face many problems, and in particular, human resource related problems. Some of these problems may relate to poor performance, to loss of money, 3, high staff turnover, or 4, conflicts. We cannot solve these problems unless we have knowledge of how to solve them. And this is why knowledge becomes very important in problem solving. And lastly, we achieve goals by having the right mix of knowledge, skills, and experiences. So how do we achieve goals? It is by developing new products, serving our customers well, and even innovating. So organizations achieve their goals by utilizing the knowledge people have so that they can deliver the services, innovate, and also serve customers better. For knowledge management, we can define it as a process, a systematic process of capturing, organizing, and sharing knowledge. When we talk of capturing, we are talking about storing or recording or coding, as it were. So we can capture knowledge by way of recording the knowledge that we have gained through experience or through study. And where do we capture this knowledge, or how do we capture the knowledge? By way of documenting. We develop documents such as policies, reports, or even standard operating procedures. These become part of the database that we need to make decisions or provide services. And therefore, we capture knowledge by way of creating documents such as policies, manuals, and reports. Talking of organizing, this has to do with ordering in a logical manner the knowledge resources that we have captured. And when we create order, it makes it very easy for us to access the files that we store. We also find it easy to access reports or policies. So we can organize knowledge in terms of categories or files for easy access. If these files are not organized, then it becomes difficult for anyone to access the knowledge resources that we have. So we must create in categories of knowledge so that it becomes easy for us to access and retrieve the stored knowledge. Talking of sharing, this is a process of exchanging ideas, experiences, and knowledge. An open exchange, that is what we mean sharing. And then the question is, how do people share knowledge? One, it is through training. For example, in this session, I am sharing my knowledge about knowledge management. And when we go for other trainings, we also have trainers sharing their knowledge with us. Secondly, we can share knowledge by discussing. We can discuss an issue in an organization. So when people discuss, they are sharing knowledge. Another way of sharing knowledge is through mentorship and coaching, where more experienced and knowledgeable people can impart their skills to others. So sharing is a very important component in knowledge management. And lastly is applying knowledge. By applying knowledge, we mean utilizing or using the knowledge that we have. This knowledge can be in the form of documents, reports, minutes, or manuals. So we use this knowledge to do many things. One, to provide services. Two, to innovate. And three, to improve processes or systems. So application of knowledge means using the knowledge resources that we have in our knowledge repositories to produce services, to innovate or improve systems. So knowledge management, therefore, is a systematic process of capturing, which means recording, organizing, that means ordering, sharing, that means exchanging our knowledge, and applying, that means using our knowledge. And lastly, knowledge management supports informed decision making. As I have indicated, informed decision making is based on data. So if knowledge is part of this data, therefore we make informed decisions using knowledge. And how do we do this? We ensure that the knowledge base that we have is accurate and is accessible. So that is the concept of knowledge management, where I've started with defining knowledge, which is information that has been processed and organized. And how do we acquire this knowledge? Through study, experience, and reflection. And what is the definition of knowledge management? It is a process of capturing, organizing, sharing, and utilizing knowledge resources, the purpose of which is to make decisions. So I believe I'm clear on the concept of knowledge management. If there's somebody with a question, you are free to ask before I move to the next part. Anybody with a question? You can raise your hand if you have a question. Irene, if you are there, any question? Agnes, if you have a question, you can ask. Okay. I hope nobody has a question, and therefore I will move on to the next part. And that is give me a minute. Okay. So sorry for that interruption. I think there was a So I've defined the concept of knowledge, and therefore I will want us to move to the next part, and that is types of knowledge. There are many types of knowledge, as you can see from your screen, starting with tacit knowledge. This is knowledge that people have based on their experience or their training. And therefore it is called personal or experiential knowledge. This knowledge cannot easily be articulated, as in you cannot document this knowledge very easily because it is contained in people's heads. Such kind of knowledge can be useful in an organization. This knowledge is what people use to provide services. It is not documented anywhere. So you and I use this knowledge to serve our customers, to develop new systems, new processes, or even develop new policies. It is intangible in nature because you cannot see it, but people can use it to make decisions or serve customers. Secondly, we have explicit knowledge. As you can see from the highlighted word, this is documented knowledge. And when knowledge is documented, it is in the form of 1, policies, 2, manuals, 3, SOPs, which are standard operating procedures, or 5, it could be strategic plans. These are formal in nature because they form part of the formal day-to-day organizational operations. This knowledge is usually stored in our databases or knowledge repositories where people can access them at any time, depending on the level of authorization. This is very important knowledge because it cannot be lost very easily, just like tacit knowledge. Tacit knowledge gets lost when people leave the organization, either through retirement or through resignation. But explicit knowledge remains in the organization for a long time and cannot easily be changed unless there is a need for that. A need arises when there is a change in our environment, and therefore we change our documents. For example, policies change. And many of our policies are changed after every 3 years or 4 years. Why? Because we need to capture new knowledge in the environment. And that is why we need to update our policies. So explicit knowledge is any documented knowledge in our possession, and it can be documented either manually or electronically. Manual documents are those hard files that we keep in our offices, and electronic are those digital files in our computers or in our repositories. The beauty with this kind of knowledge, it can easily be shared and transferred. Why is it easy to share? Because you can pick a document and send it to a colleague who needs it through the use of a computer. Unlike tacit knowledge, which people can have but may not be willing to share. As we shall mention later, one of the challenges of knowledge management is where people are hoarding knowledge. Hoarding means keeping knowledge without sharing it, either for personal reasons or because they don't want to share it because of its sensitivity. So explicit knowledge is easy to share and transfer from one person to another. Thirdly, there is another kind of knowledge called embedded knowledge. This is contained in routine systems and culture. When you talk of routines, these are the day-to-day activities that we all engage in. For example, one of the routine activities is to check our mail or read books or read files in our offices. So these routines are the day-to-day activities that we do. And it's embedded in the individuals who have it. Then systems are tools that we use either to store or share knowledge. What are the examples of such systems? One is a learning management system, where knowledge resources are stored and the people can access them. Another system could be cloud computing, where knowledge is stored outside the organization, where we can access them at any time of the day or night. Another knowledge system is document management system, and others like databases. So knowledge contained in this system is called embedded knowledge because it is contained in our systems. And talking of culture, these are the norms or values that people espouse at all times. For example, values. A value like customer care is seen in what people do. that they are ready and willing to serve customers when they visit or when they ask queries. So customer care is part of the values related to culture. Another value could be innovation. So if we develop a culture of innovation, this is where everybody is encouraged to develop new systems, processes, or even products, and we reward innovation. So a culture where innovation is promoted is where people are free to think and develop new ideas, and they are rewarded for that. The fourth type of knowledge is called embodied knowledge. And this is in the form of the physical skills and the competences that people have. I want to take an example of a mechanic. This mechanic repairs vehicles or machines. He or she is using physical skills. He knows the nuts and the bolts to touch. Unlike somebody who has never touched a machine. So this physical knowledge of repairing, dismantling machines or even engines is what you call embodied knowledge. And it comes from practical experience that people have. Then you are talking about competencies. These are abilities that people have. For example, swimming is an ability. Singing is an ability. So people are able to do things using their skills and knowledge. So embodying knowledge is the physical and the competencies that people have, which helps them to perform a task efficiently and effectively. Lastly is uncultured knowledge. From the word uncultured is something that emerges from within or outside the organization. So this is knowledge that emerges from people who work together. How does this knowledge emerge? When two or more people are working together, they learn from one another, either by way of sharing their knowledge or by way of observation. We learn through observing. So when we work together, we observe others and learn from them. Secondly, uncultured knowledge results from communication. Communication is a process of passing information from one person to another. So through communication, we pass knowledge. You remember we defined knowledge as information that has been processed. So if we communicate information which is processed, then we are sharing knowledge. So knowledge emerges when people share information. And lastly, uncultured knowledge emerges as a result of adaptation. Adapting is where people change in response to a change in the environment. So when we change, it means that we are acquiring new knowledge of how to do things. So we change over time. We can change our behaviors because of new knowledge. We can change our attitudes, and we can change our actions. So adaptation is a form of uncultured knowledge which cannot be part of the day, which can be part of the day-to-day work of employees. So having said that, I want to move to the next part, but I will invite anybody with a question to ask, if any, about the types of knowledge. As a point of emphasis, most of us use the first two types of knowledge. That is tacit knowledge and explicit knowledge. Anybody with a question on the types of knowledge so that we can move to the next part? Okay. Apparently there is no question. I can't see any hand from anyone, but with your permission, then I can move to the next slide, and that is objectives and the benefits of knowledge management. We started with defining knowledge and knowledge management. We have mentioned the types of knowledge, and now we want to talk about objectives and the benefits of knowledge management. Number one, it helps to promote decision making. That when we have the right knowledge, we can make better strategic decisions. Therefore, we must have knowledge of many things. One, knowledge of our product. Two, knowledge of our employees. Three, knowledge of our systems. Four, knowledge of our environment. And based on this knowledge, we can make better decisions. When you talk of strategic decisions, these are those that help us to achieve a competitive advantage or serve our customers better. In human resource management, we must have knowledge of all the functions. If I may mention a few of them: one, recruitment and selection; two, performance management; and three, training and development. Knowledge of these functions helps us to make strategic decisions related to those functions. For example, knowledge of training and development helps us to develop succession plans. And from these succession plans, we are able to identify people with experience, with knowledge and abilities to be promoted. So we make a strategic decision of preparing succession plans so that we can, one, retain our knowledgeable employees, and two, find suitable replacements of people at higher levels. So knowledge of human resource management helps us to make those strategic decisions, including retention. Secondly, knowledge management helps us to retain institutional knowledge. This institutional knowledge relates to several things. One, policies. Two, standard operating procedures. Three, manuals. And four, people. People with institutional knowledge are those who have the organizational memory. These are the ones that we can keep or retain in our organizations. So in knowledge management, as I will mention as we move forward, we look at acquiring, storing, sharing, and disseminating knowledge. So when we manage these knowledge resources well, then we are able to keep it, these assets. Keep them so that we don't lose this knowledge. There are several ways in which we can lose knowledge. One, through theft. That when we have created knowledge and stored this, it can be lost through theft. People steal knowledge and share it with other people. We can also lose knowledge by people leaving the organization through turnover. The other one is keeping our documents away from viruses. Viruses can corrupt our files. When we manage our knowledge well, we protect this knowledge so that we don't lose it. However, we should make this knowledge accessible to people when need arises. So the objective of knowledge management is to ensure that this knowledge is securely kept and that it is not stolen or that it is not destroyed or damaged. Another objective is to improve productivity and innovation. Productivity is about producing goods and services by optimizing resources within a given period of time. And therefore, through our knowledge, we are able to produce goods and services within a short time. For innovation, we are developing new systems, new processes, or even new products. It's only people who have knowledge who can innovate. Innovation comes from people having knowledge of what is going on around them, and they can improve products. So without knowledge, we can never innovate. And for that reason, when knowledge is used to produce and innovate, it helps an organization to achieve its objectives. And in this way, we reduce duplication. We all know that duplication of resources is a waste. You can duplicate human resources, duplicate materials, or duplicate machines. This is a waste. So through knowledge management, we are able to ensure that there is no duplication of resources which might lead to waste. And the creativity is related to innovation, where people develop products or processes from scratch, creative. This creativity can be inborn, or somebody has been born with it, or it can be through study, by going to school and acquiring knowledge. So the objective of knowledge management is to improve productivity and innovation. The other objective is to reduce the loss of knowledge. Knowledge can be lost in many ways. I've already mentioned, but I can repeat. One, you can lose knowledge by way of theft, people stealing our knowledge. How do they steal? By getting into our systems, by hacking into our systems and getting away with our knowledge resources. Two, we can lose knowledge through viruses if our knowledge resources which we store in our computers are exposed. So people can introduce malware into our knowledge resources and corrupt. So viruses corrupt our files and we lose that knowledge. Another way of losing knowledge is where people leave the organization. People leave the organization through resignation or through retirement. Effective knowledge management therefore requires that we prevent these losses. For example, how do we prevent or reduce losses of knowledge through resignation? One, before people leave the organization, they should share their knowledge among others or with other people. Two, we can introduce mentorship and coaching programs so that even if people leave, some knowledge is left behind. Or three, we can form collaborative forums where people are allowed to share their knowledge across functions. So we can reduce knowledge loss by mentorship, by developing collaborative forums, and also by rewarding people so that they don't leave. So through knowledge management, we are able to reduce the loss of knowledge. For losses related to theft, we should be able to develop systems that only allow limited access to unauthorized people so that people don't access privileged knowledge or company secrets. So we have to limit access so that people don't steal. For losses related to viruses, we should develop adequate firewalls to prevent viruses from entering our systems. So all that is part of knowledge management, that the knowledge we have acquired, we have stored, should be protected. So in knowledge management, we look at the security of our knowledge so that we don't lose it. The other objective, and the last one, and I'm not saying that the objectives are limited to these 5, is supporting organizational learning. Organizational learning is where employees acquire skills and knowledge on a continuous basis. And how do we promote a learning organization? One is through training and development. Two is through mentorship and coaching. 3 is through micro-learning, where small groups of people meet to discuss an issue, either over lunch hour or early in the morning before work starts. And 3, where management is committed in investing in knowledge acquisition. So through knowledge management, we encourage continuous employee development by sharing our experiences and the knowledge resources. So organizational learning is a key objective in human resource management. That through this organizational learning, we are able to, one, motivate people through training and development. Two, retain knowledgeable and experienced people. And three, prepare succession plans for our employees so that we have adequate employees prepared to take over higher positions. So basically, those are some of the benefits and objectives of knowledge management, which I believe will be used in helping us become more productive and successful human resource managers. Remember, human resource management is about people. People who have skills and knowledge. So we want to manage these knowledge resources efficiently and effectively. So by understanding the concept of knowledge management, we are able to be better decision makers. We are able to preserve our institutional knowledge. We are able to improve productivity, reduce knowledge loss, and promote continuous learning. So those are the objectives of knowledge management to a human resource manager. And again, I will invite anybody with a question or a comment so that we can move to the next slide. Is there anybody who has a question? Okay, apparently there is no question. Then again, with your permission, let's move to the next slide. Features of good knowledge. If I take us back to what we have already discussed, we have said knowledge is information that has been organized and stored. Knowledge management is a process of acquiring, capturing, and sharing knowledge. There are various types of knowledge which we have mentioned, and therefore we are looking at the characteristics of this knowledge, whether tacit, explicit, embedded, or embodied, or encultured. So what are the features of these types of knowledge? Number one is relevance. That good knowledge is one that satisfies a need or serves a purpose. If knowledge does not satisfy a need, then it is not useful and therefore should be removed from our knowledge repositories. What are the specific needs that knowledge should serve? One, achieve organizational objectives. Two, serve our customers better. Three, improve processes and procedures. Four, help an organization to achieve a competitive advantage. And five, it should satisfy the need for sustainability. That any knowledge that does not satisfy some of those needs, then it is irrelevant. We only want to acquire, store, and share relevant knowledge. Additionally, good knowledge is one that helps us to identify opportunities or take advantage of those opportunities. Opportunities could be gaps in the market, which we can utilize to expand or generate revenue. For example, knowledge of the market And by market here, we mean customers that can buy from us. So if some customers are not served by the competition, then that becomes an opportunity. And that requires knowledge. So how do we get that knowledge about customers? It is by conducting market surveys or market research. So through market research, we are able to identify gaps in the market, and those gaps become our opportunities. And this knowledge of the market helps organizations to achieve its objectives. Secondly, good knowledge is accurate. By accuracy, we mean that it is factual. And factual in data or knowledge is one that is reliable and evidence-based. This data can be acquired through observation, through research, or through discussions. So when we capture this knowledge in our systems, it should be evidence or factual. So without knowledge being factual, then it becomes a rumor. And organizations don't want to operate on rumors because we run the risk of losing our brand name. So we need to have accurate knowledge that can enable us to perform our functions better and also help the organization to achieve its objectives. Thirdly, good knowledge is provided on time, timeliness. That this knowledge should not come too early or too late. It should be provided at the time it is needed. That if you provide knowledge too late, then it may not be useful. Any knowledge that we acquire late when it was supposed to have come earlier is not useful at all. And therefore, our knowledge bases, call them databases, should be able to allow access at the right time so that people can acquire the knowledge resources and make decisions, especially under conditions of emergency. Without timely knowledge, then there will be delays. And when there are delays, you call that downtime. What results is 1, customer complaints, 2, loss of those customers, and 3, loss of revenue. That can be cured by providing timely knowledge. The other aspect of timeliness is that this knowledge must be up to date, that it is not stale knowledge. Any knowledge that is stale, then it is not useful. We may all be aware that the knowledge that we have today as individuals has a shelf life. By shelf life, we mean it has an expiry date. Why? Because of the changes in our environment. So when there are many changes, we also require to move according to the times. so that we can acquire new knowledge that is obtaining in the market. So the latest information or knowledge should be kept in our databases so that we do not become irrelevant. Therefore, what should we do in order to provide timely knowledge? One, allow access to our knowledge bases at the time required. Two, monitor our environment to identify any new knowledge resources that are available. And three, response to requests for knowledge at the time that is required. So timeliness is very important because we lose a lot if we don't provide this knowledge in a timely manner. Number 4 is accessibility. That people who require this knowledge should be able to obtain that knowledge from the various repositories as and when they need that knowledge. By repository, we mean storage facilities such as databases or document management systems. So we store knowledge in repositories. So knowledge stored should be easily accessible by authorized users. If it's not accessible, then it becomes impossible for us to make decisions. Or if it's not accessible, then we may not serve our customers well because we don't have knowledge. I believe many of us have come across the concept of CRM. CRM stands for Customer Relations Management. That we must provide our customers with the right information at the right time, at the right places, and in the right amount, so that they are able to make decisions on their own. If this knowledge is not accessible to them, then we might lose our customers. Talking of internal customers, as HR managers, we provide knowledge. Knowledge about interviews, for example, that there are interviews being conducted and people informed, or managing our leaves. Leaves like annual leave, sick leave, or maternity leave can be applied through these knowledge repositories. So if these repositories are not accessible, then it becomes difficult for our internal customers to apply for leave days. So accessibility is important because people need information which they can act on. Secondly, under accessibility is that the knowledge bases should be user-friendly. That it should not be too complicated for users to access or retrieve information. And therefore, a user-friendly knowledge base is one that makes it easy for people to find or navigate the database. Without this easy accessibility, then that knowledge is not useful. Any knowledge that people cannot access is not useful, and therefore it should be removed. Then another feature of good knowledge is clarity and precision. Clarity means ability to understand. Precision is the accuracy and meaning of the knowledge resources that we have, so that we cannot misinterpret that information. Therefore, precision is about having knowledge which is to the point. It's not too large that people may find it hard to read or access. It should capture only the information that is required. And therefore, when we create our knowledge resources, we must make sure that the language used is understandable. If people can't understand the knowledge being stored or shared, then again, that is wasted effort. So clarity is about being simple and understandable. Precision is being to the point, and that is minimizing ambiguity or misinterpretation. And again, this depends on the nature of work that we do. If among us there are engineers, we do not want to use a language that is understandable to HR managers, because the audience is different. So we must make sure that the knowledge resources that we have is created in a way that it is understandable to the audience and that it is not ambiguous. So those are some of the features of good knowledge, and therefore we must ensure that, one, it is relevant, two, it is accurate, timely, accessible, and clear. Before we go to the knowledge management cycle, again, I will want anybody with a question to raise it or a comment so that we can move on in the interest of time. Okay, apparently there is nobody who has a question. And therefore you are inviting me to move to the next slide, and that is knowledge management life cycle. Knowledge management, as we have said, is a process of creating, storing, sharing, and disseminating knowledge resources. And the cycle reflected on our screen has been expanded. And number one is knowledge creation. Creation means bringing into existence. And you can bring into existence knowledge that is new or knowledge that is unknown. So new knowledge is one that has never existed, unknown could have existed, but people are not aware of it. So in knowledge creation, people generate new knowledge. And allow me to mention some of the ways in which knowledge can be created. Number one, research. Research is a systematic process of collecting, analyzing, and interpreting data. When we collect and interpret data, we generate knowledge. And this knowledge can be stored and shared with others. Secondly, we can create knowledge through training. I have mentioned before that training is a process of acquiring new skills and knowledge. Underline the word knowledge. So we go for trainings such as this to acquire new knowledge. 3, we can generate knowledge through discussions. In our organizations, we hold many meetings to discuss matters that relate to our departments or to the organization in general. So discussions enable people to share new insights that they may have based on their experiences or study. So discussions are important ways of generating knowledge within an organization. Another way of creating knowledge is by benchmarking. Benchmarking means comparing ourselves with others within the organization, which we call internal benchmarking, or outside, which is external benchmarking. When we benchmark, we compare ourselves in terms of processes, practices, systems, and even policies. So we get to know, the word is knowledge, know. We get to know what others are doing better than us. And by benchmarking, we identify best practices which can be customized and used in our organizations. We can also generate knowledge by reading. We read policies, we read manuals, we read standard operating procedures. We also read other materials which may be contained in our learning management systems. So the starting point of knowledge management is knowledge creation. That means generating knowledge by way of research, discussions, as well as creating collaborative programs or forums where people can share their knowledge. The second step in knowledge management is knowledge capture. I've highlighted the word extracting because that is what capturing is about. You extract valuable information or knowledge from the set of knowledge that we have created, extracting. Again, not all knowledge that we have generated may be useful. So when we capture knowledge, we focus on useful or valuable knowledge. And this knowledge can be used to develop new products, make decisions, or improve systems. How do we capture this knowledge? It is by way of documenting this knowledge, either on paper or by electronic means. When extracting or capturing this knowledge, we should be able to classify this knowledge into different categories. For example, in a human resource department, we may have categories like personal files, 2, performance evaluations, 3, training and development files, 4, disciplinary matters, or 5, performance evaluations. So these are recorded or captured files which are ordered. Like we said, one of the characteristics of good knowledge is that it should be organized. So when we capture knowledge, we should organize it in a logical way so that it is easy to access and retrieve. So we extract knowledge from people, from documents, or from other people's experiences. So how do we, for example, capture knowledge from people? That is tacit knowledge. One, we capture this knowledge by way of writing down what people know. So the skills and knowledge that people have can be recorded in our computer systems. Or 2, we can also capture this by way of creating forums for people to share. So when people share, they are extracting or capturing valuable knowledge from others. So extracting is the second step in the life cycle of knowledge management. Number 3 is knowledge sharing. So we have captured knowledge by way of documenting and storing. And then thirdly is to share this knowledge. Sharing, as I have indicated, is distributing knowledge to others. If I go back to what I said earlier, knowledge sharing means open exchange of knowledge, exchange of insights, exchange of experiences, and exchange of information. So by exchanging, we are sharing or distributing knowledge to others. So how do we share again? One, it's by sending a document to the people that we intend to communicate to, sending a document. 2, we can share by having meetings. 3, we can share by inviting people to comment or give us their ideas through our system. So sharing is important because without sharing, nobody will know what exists in our databases or repositories. And then on application, I have indicated before, application has to do with utilization of knowledge. How do we use knowledge? And again, allow me to say the ways in which we can use knowledge, though we have indicated down there. We use knowledge to make decisions. So daily decisions are made based on sharing of knowledge. Step 4 is storing our knowledge and retrieving it. We store knowledge in various forms, either electronically or manually. And this knowledge must be stored at the right places where it can be easily accessed. I can mention several forms of knowledge repositories or storage. One is document management system, where all the documents related to HR are stored, and they can be stored electronically. Secondly is a database. A database is where we have all the knowledge captured, stored, and organized in different categories. So databases are knowledge repositories in our departments where we can easily retrieve this knowledge. 3, we may have learning management systems. This is a system which holds or stores learning materials, especially in the learning and development department, if it is separate from HR. The other form of storage is cloud storage, where our databases or knowledge resources are stored outside the organization, like Google Drive is an example of cloud storage. And this is done for several reasons. One, to protect our knowledge resources from being stolen, or 2, protect our knowledge from being infected with viruses. So as we store this knowledge, we must ensure that this knowledge is safe, that nobody can easily access this knowledge unless authorized, and that it is protected from viruses or infections. The 5th step is using knowledge, and that is applying knowledge to provide services or develop new products. In human resource management, we use knowledge, 1, to recruit new employees. Which knowledge do we require? The background of the new employee. 2, we use knowledge to train our employees. Which knowledge do we need? There are skills gaps which can be identified through training needs analysis. 3, we need knowledge about the performance of employees. How do we get this knowledge? Through performance appraisals. And 4, we need knowledge about employee compensation, so that when we make decisions on employee compensation, we have knowledge. So how do we acquire knowledge about employee compensation? We can conduct salary surveys, either internally or externally. So we use knowledge in various ways in the HR function, that is in recruitment, in training, in performance management, and I will show this in a short while. Lastly is knowledge review or renewal. Knowledge review. By reviewing knowledge, we are evaluating the efficiency and the effectiveness of our knowledge assets. When we review, we can measure how our knowledge resources are used, so that 1, we can improve by identifying gaps, or 2, we can change, especially if the knowledge resources are not useful. So knowledge review and renewal means that we assess the effectiveness of our knowledge resources. 1, to identify strengths. 2, identify weaknesses. 3, identify gaps. And 4, identify emerging issues. So when we do that, we are able to update the knowledge resources to ensure that they are relevant and accurate. Remember, I said good knowledge is relevant and accurate. So when we review, we ensure that any knowledge that is outdated, any knowledge that is not useful, is removed from our database or reservoirs. And on accuracy, we ensure that our files are clean and are factual. So we need to update our knowledge resources on a regular basis by reviewing and refining them further. So those are the steps involved in knowledge management process. You can condense this into 3. 1, knowledge generation. 3, knowledge storage. And 3, knowledge sharing or dissemination. Lastly, knowledge review. We need to continuously monitor our knowledge resources to ensure that they are relevant and up to date. Any question on knowledge life cycle? Okay, I would imagine that there is no question, and therefore move to the next part, and that is common tools used in knowledge management or human resource management, common knowledge management tools used in HR. By tools, we mean systems that can enable us to capture, store, share, or disseminate knowledge. So what are these systems that we can use? One, HR manuals and SOPs. So SOPs are standard operating procedures. In our custody as HR managers, we have HR manuals. These are details of the functions, processes, policies, and procedures that govern the human resource function. So this manual can be used by employees to provide insights on the function of human resource management. So they provide knowledge to employees. These manuals can be used during onboarding or training or disciplinary processes. They tell us what should be done, when, where, and how. So knowledge can be obtained from HR manuals because they contain the processes and the policies that we can use either to induct new people, train, or conduct performance appraisal. And this applies to SOP, standard operating procedures. For example, in recruitment and selection, the standard operating procedure could be requisition of vacant positions. After requisitioning is approval. After approval is advertisement. After advertisement is shortlisting. After shortlisting, interview. After interview is background check. After background check is selection. After that is appointment. After appointment is induction or onboarding. And after that is probation. That could be a standard operating procedure when it comes to recruitment and selection. There are other procedures related to training and development. For example, if you want to implement a training program, the standard procedure here is 1, conduct a TNA, training needs analysis. 2, design a training program. 3, develop training materials. 4, implement the training. And 5, evaluate the training. So that is a standard operating procedure used in training and development. And there are many other procedures related to disciplinary, again, depending on the nature of the offense. So disciplinary may involve 1, oral informal warning. 2, oral formal warning. 3, written warning. 4, disciplinary interview. And the last is taking action. So again, SOPs are tools that are used to ensure that standard procedures are used so that we ensure equity and fairness in the way we perform our functions. Then another common tool is mentorship program, where more experienced and knowledgeable people are partnered with less knowledgeable people or more or less experienced, so that the mentee can learn from the mentors. And this is one way of managing tacit knowledge, so that we can transfer it or share it with others. The traditional way is where senior managers are mentoring junior managers. However, we can also do the reverse. And the reverse is reverse mentorship, where junior staff are mentoring senior staff. And again, this depends on their knowledge, on their experiences, and their abilities. Mentorship is meant to share knowledge resources with others. As I have said, mentors are people who are more knowledgeable and therefore can share their knowledge experiences with the junior ones. Another tool is newsletters. These are tools that we use on a regular basis to share updates. When there are any changes in our systems, we can prepare newsletters, which are written documents from which people can learn. Another tool is exit interview, which is commonly used when staff are leaving. We want to know, and the word is know, the reasons why some staff are leaving. And when we have knowledge of the reasons, we can learn. So those are lessons learned. Depending on how you structure these exit interviews, you can get to know some of the reasons why employees are leaving. And I can mention a few of them. One is working conditions. Two is the job itself. If the job is not rewarding, people can leave. Three, the payment in the form of compensation and benefits. Four, it could be a toxic environment. Or five, lack of progression or development. That if people are not being promoted, they stagnate and therefore leave. Through these exit interviews, we are able to capture insights. Insights are knowledge that we get from the exiting employees. And this can help us to take corrective measures so that we prevent employees from leaving. We all know that exiting employees are a loss to the organization, especially those who are more experienced and knowledgeable. When they leave, we lose that knowledge. So we make every effort to ensure that we know the reasons for leaving so that we can take corrective measures. Another tool is intranet. These are internal networks, which some of us call local area network, where people can access knowledge resources from a centralized database or repository. So you can share knowledge using these intranets. The last one is onboarding portals. These are internet-based systems where new employees can access materials related to the organization even before reporting. So we can send materials like policies, manuals, and job descriptions through these onboarding portals so that the new employees can learn about the organization even before they report. And if they have any queries, they can raise them through these portals. So basically, those are some of the common tools related to knowledge management that we use in human resource management. If you have any question, you can ask before I move to the use of knowledge management in HR. Anybody with a question again? Okay. In the interest of time, I can move to the next one. That is knowledge management and HR functions. As you can see from the screen, there are about 6 functions that I have projected. There are other functions that we perform like health and safety, which I will talk about at the end of this slide. We start with the recruitment and selection, as well as onboarding. That knowledge management provide us with the knowledge that we require about the new employees. Where do we start getting to know our new employees? It is from the time they make applications. So we can acquire knowledge about the potential employees when they make applications. This can be manual applications or automated. Some organizations use ATS, which means automated tracking systems, where we can get to know the status of the applications arising from the advertisements that we placed. So we get to know our potential employees when they make applications. And we screen these applications based on the knowledge that they have given us, and then do a short list. Once a short list has been done, the next step of acquiring knowledge about the new employee is interview. So we invite these people for interviews so that we can get more knowledge about them. So we ask them all manner of questions so as to get more knowledge about them. So these interviews can take many forms, usually in the form of tests. It could be a psychometric test, a psychological test, or a performance demonstration test. So from these interviews, we get to know more about the employees and their potential to perform the job for which they are being considered. And again, during recruitment, we do a background check on the employees. This background may be related to their academics or organizations for which they have worked. So this knowledge helps us to make a decision on the most suitable candidate that we can consider for selection. On onboarding, once employees have been selected, then onboarding comes in. So onboarding is the first knowledge that employees have of the organization when they join. So again, through onboarding, knowledge is acquired in two ways. Employees acquire knowledge about the organization, and also the organization acquires more knowledge about the employees as they report. So the employee gets to know many things about the organization during this process. One, about the policies. Two, about the systems. Three, about the environment. And possibly four, if it exists, about trade unions. So employees get to know the organization. On the part of the employer wants to know more about the new employee in terms of their relations with others when they join. Usually when new employees are onboarded, they are partnered with others so that they can start performing their work as soon as possible. This partnership could be either mentorship or onboarding. Sorry, not onboarding, but buddy system. So the mentorship and the buddy system is a learning process where people, the new employee and the organization learn about each other. So that is recruitment and selection, where there is a lot of knowledge that is being acquired throughout the process, during screening, during interviews, and during onboarding. So there's a lot of knowledge exchange in the process. Two, on training and development, we acquire knowledge about the employees, and the employees also acquire knowledge because they learn new skills and knowledge. Training and development offers employees an opportunity to expand their skills and knowledge. This training can take two forms: one, on-the-job training, or two, off-the-job training. So on-the-job is where people learn from others within the organization, either through apprenticeship or through delegation or through mentorship or through simulations. Off-the-job training is where people attend courses outside the organization, either in institutions of learning like universities and colleges, or through workshops, conferences, and seminars. Through these methods, employees acquire new knowledge. This knowledge is related to their jobs, and this is based on their performance gaps. So through training, people acquire skills and knowledge to improve their performance. The next one is performance management. This is a very important function for HR managers, that we need to know the performance levels of our employees. So how do we go about it? We use various methods. I can mention four. One, self-appraisal. Two, peer appraisal. Three, customer appraisal. And four, 360-degree appraisal, where a combination of methods are used from all sources. So managers get to know the performance of the employees using those various methods. And this knowledge is stored in repositories. So we may have a system like ERPs, that is enterprise resource planning, where performance reviews are kept for future reference and improvement. So employees can access their performance or know their performance levels by going into these knowledge repositories. They can also get their feedback on their performance as soon as the results are posted in these repositories. The other function where we use knowledge is succession planning, where managers identify the most important knowledge or critical knowledge that they can use to prepare succession plans. So how can managers identify people with potential? People with potential are those who have the skills, the knowledge, and the experience to hold senior positions. So some of the methods of identifying people with potential include: one, performance appraisal reports. So those who are good performers can be considered for succession. Two, conducting knowledge and skill surveys. That is auditing our knowledge resources to identify those people with critical skills and the knowledge that can be considered for promotion. And three, we can get knowledge about potential candidates through interviews. We can interview the employees or interview their supervisors to know who the potential candidates are who will be considered for promotion. And therefore, HR managers prepare succession plans based on knowledge. So knowledge of potential candidates is obtained through performance appraisal reports, through interviews, and through knowledge audits. The second last function is employee engagement and retention, where engagement means two things. One, employees actively participate in organizational activities. Or two, employees are committed to the organization. Committed employees are those who perform their duties diligently, report on duty on time, are team players, and are willing and ready to remain with the organization for a long time. And the retention is about keeping the employees for a long time, especially those who have the right mix of skills and knowledge. So HR managers want to engage employees and retain them. So how do they engage and retain these employees? One, redesign jobs so that employees can acquire new skills and knowledge through job rotation or job enlargement or job enrichment. Two, they can engage employees through HR skills audit to find out whether employees are happy with the organization. So employee satisfaction could form part of this audit. We know whether employees are happy. Unhappy employees are disengaged and are likely to leave the organization. And then 3, managers can know about the level of engagement by looking at the performance levels. If the levels of performance are low, then there could be a problem with the motivation or the tools they are using or the environment. So managers need to acquire knowledge about employee engagement and retention so that they can make decisions. Having this knowledge helps managers to develop 1, a learning culture, 2, motivate employees, and 3, retain skilled and knowledgeable personnel. Lastly, is employee separation and succession, which I've already mentioned. Separation is where employees leave the organization, either through retirement or through resignation. So what do we need in terms of knowledge? 1, handover notes. For there to be smooth transition, as a requirement, the exiting employees are expected to write down what they have done, what is ongoing, and what is to be started, so that the newcomer or the new person knows exactly where to start from. And again, in terms of knowledge, we need to transfer knowledge through those exit interviews so that we acquire knowledge of the reasons why employees are leaving. So we get to know the reasons why employees leave through those exit interviews. And we document these interviews so that we learn from our lessons. I promised that I could also look at health and safety as another function in human resource management. Health and safety is about ensuring that our people do not fall sick and are protected from any accidents. This is a requirement of the employment laws, particularly the Occupational Safety and Health Act and 2, Work Injury and Benefits Act. So these 2 acts of Parliament regulate health and safety component of human resource. So in terms of knowledge management, we need to, 1, induct our employees during onboarding to the health and safety issues so that we reduce instances of illnesses and accidents. 2, we need to train people on handling machines, tools, and equipment, which can cause accidents. So again, when we train people, it's a knowledge management issue so that we make our environment healthy and safe. And on health and safety, we can also acquire knowledge through health and safety audits. The health and safety committees in our organizations can conduct this so that we get to know the health and safety conditions in our organizations and what gaps exist. So through HR health and safety audits, we are able to acquire knowledge on health and safety, which is a function of human resource management. To finish, we want to look at the importance of knowledge management in the context of HRM. I've already mentioned some of this, but I will go through them. One is retention of organizational memory. That when we manage our knowledge resources well, we are able to retain the skilled and knowledgeable staff. Remember, I mentioned that we should conduct exit interviews to gain knowledge on why they are leaving. So this knowledge is used to prevent future exits. So when we prevent future exits, we retain institutional memory. Secondly, we enhance onboarding. Onboarding starts even from the time an employee has not reported in the organization. So we use those onboarding portals, like I mentioned, where we can share policies, manuals, procedures with the new employees before they report. So once this has been done, then orientation and induction becomes faster. So effective knowledge management requires that we are proactive. We provide the knowledge resources in advance, and then ensure that these knowledge resources are accessible. You remember that the characteristics of good knowledge is accessibility. Number three, through knowledge management, we ensure consistency in the provision of services. This consistency is contained in some of the documents that we keep. I will mention two. One, policies, and two, SOPs. Policies provide guidelines on what we do in various functions like recruitment, training, and performance management. For SOPs, they provide us with the procedures that should be followed when we are making decisions. So policies and SOPs, which are a part of our knowledge resources, help us to ensure consistency in HR services. The other one is to enable us make informed decisions that based on knowledge that we have in our depositories or storage tools, we are able to make decisions. This knowledge that we have, we analyze that knowledge, we interpret it, and then make the informed decisions. And lastly, it's about continuous learning. Learning never stops. In organizations where there is a learning culture, learning is continuous. So through knowledge management, we are able to identify any gaps through monitoring and evaluation, and then initiate interventions which will bridge those gaps. Those knowledge gaps identified enable people to learn even more. So continuous learning can be encouraged through several ways. One, training and development. Two, mentorship and coaching. Three, apprenticeship. And four, collaboration forums. So in knowledge management, we encourage some of these initiatives so that we ensure that people learn on a continuous basis and the organization benefits in the process. And then second last, how do we justify knowledge management as a strategic tool? Through knowledge management, we achieve operational efficiency. That means we use our resources optimally without wastage. Secondly, we reduce cost by reducing knowledge loss. I mentioned that knowledge can be lost through turnover. So when we prevent knowledge loss by retention, then we achieve a strategic objective so that we achieve a competitive advantage. The other one is improved performance, that through knowledge management, we are able to equip our employees with the resources so that they can work better. On risk management, knowledge management helps us to identify gaps or critical skills that we don't have and find ways of bridging these gaps, either by way of acquiring new people or developing our own from within. For example, when we don't have adequate employees for succession planning, that is a risk, and we can mitigate this risk through succession planning. And succession planning includes delegation, training, and also promotion. Lastly, knowledge management has become a strategic tool because it accelerates innovation. That people who are knowledgeable are able to innovate or create new systems, processes, and even products. So knowledge management helps us to innovate as individuals and also as organizations. What are the challenges of implementing knowledge management? One is limited awareness, that many organizations do not have a knowledge management section or a department, and therefore may not have the requisite knowledge to implement this system. What is required then is to train people, and I will encourage us to register every Saturday so that we can learn this aspect of knowledge management for the next 5 weeks so that we are able to implement this knowledge management system in our organization. So through these trainings, you will be able to acquire knowledge on how to implement the knowledge management system. And number 2 is organizational silos, where people work independently without sharing their knowledge resources. This again discourages teamwork and knowledge sharing. Silos are a hindrance to many organizations because knowledge is compartmentalized, and therefore we do not have a wide knowledge of what is going on in other departments. To encourage knowledge sharing, we need to break down these silos so that knowledge is shared seamlessly. So how do we break these silos? One, we should start working collaboratively with the other departments. Number 2, create an open environment where people are free to share their knowledge resources. And 3, conduct team buildings so that people can learn the need to work together. The other challenge is poor documentation, where documents are not well kept, and therefore knowledge is lost or not well documented because it cannot be accessed. So the best way of ensuring effective documentation is 1, creating categories in our knowledge bases so that we know the various components of knowledge that we have. Number 2, ensure that our knowledge is accessible in a timely manner. The other challenge is lack of or inadequate technology, where some organizations use manual systems, which makes it very hard to access some of the knowledge resources that we have, like policies or manuals. How do we overcome this? We should digitize our activities as HR managers and create knowledge technology infrastructure such as ICT internet, and even cloud computing. Lastly, another challenge is cultural resistance, where employees do not accept changes which are proposed as a result of the implementation of knowledge management system. Some people may fear that their jobs may be lost, especially when the proposal is to automate some of the processes in our organizations. So how do we overcome resistance? 3 ways. 1, involve all the stakeholders. Number 2, effective communication. And number 3, train employees on the new system. In this way, you will have buy-in of the stakeholders and reduce resistance to change. Lack of leadership support is another limitation, where leaders are not able to provide the resources and even their personal commitment to the implementation of this system. There could be reasons for that, but the main reason is lack of resources. So leaders should be able to support us so that we can implement knowledge management systems effectively. I've mentioned technology, but there is also another barrier called funding. Money is hard to come by, and especially in an environment like ours, where austerity measures are being taken, we find that implementing knowledge management system is constrained. Therefore, we need to look for ways of raising funds to manage, to invest in knowledge management. If not, we look for more cost-effective methods of managing our knowledge. For example, internal training. And lastly, lack of metrics to measure the performance of KIM systems. And for that reason, we are encouraged to evaluate on a regular basis the performance of our knowledge systems. How do we do that? We do regular audits of the knowledge management system so that we identify gaps and take corrective measures in time. The last aspect for today is the principles of KIM and their role in HR leadership. Number 1, they should be AI driven. AI is basically systems that mimic or imitate human intelligence. These systems are used to automate certain processes in HR. So in knowledge management, we are now in a space of AI and therefore should embrace AI so that we can develop, design, and implement knowledge management systems that are more efficient and more effective. Number 2, another principle is use of HR analytics, where we develop data which can inform our decisions. So we should conduct HR audits, which will give us data which we can analyze to make decisions in the various functions of HR. So HR analytics is very important because through this data, we are able to measure the performance of the HR function and in particular, knowledge management system. Number 3, continuous learning, that knowledge never comes to an end. This is a principle. We should encourage micro-learning where small groups meet over lunch hour and discuss an issue, maybe for 5-10 minutes. We should also use adaptive systems, which are agile, like learning management systems, so that we can encourage continuous learning. Mobile and remote knowledge access, this is where we use cloud computing, like Google Drive, so that people can access knowledge anytime. Traditionally, we used to have libraries in our organizations, which were static, but today we need to embrace more dynamic libraries, which are cloud-based. The other one is employee experience. We focus more on employee experience. And experience here is what employees see, feel, and hear. So we want an experience where employees are happy, are engaged, and feel part of the organization. Then on employee retention, we focus our attention in knowledge management on retaining the critical knowledge that our employees have. So we prevent exit of those key staff, or if not, we capture the tacit knowledge that people have through mentorship and coaching. Another aspect is in learning, personalized learning, where we tailor-make learning to ensure that certain individuals have the skills and knowledge they require to perform their work effectively. For example, in ICT, we might have customized or personalized knowledge like cybersecurity, so that we have specific individuals who have knowledge of cybersecurity so that our knowledge resources are safe. And again, our knowledge management system are emphasizing ethics and security, which are aspects related to privacy and confidentiality. I am happy that even AI is recognizing this, that in machine learning, we are going to see AI inculcating ethical aspects like privacy and confidentiality. And then lastly is agility, where our knowledge management system is able to adapt to changes in our environment. There are many changes that are taking place, particularly economic and technological, which our knowledge resources should adapt to. So on that note, we come to the end of our session today. And now I will invite anyone who has a question or a comment so that we can wind up. So the floor is open to all of us. Ask your question or make your comment so that we can close. I can see Kiara is on board.
Yes, morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very fine, thank you. It's my first time to join the class, eh?
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you. I was wondering if I could get, you provide the notes or the video of the interaction?
Yes, this can be provided online. If you log into our portal, you will always be able to access this notes and video. And my colleague had already mentioned this through a chat. You can always access them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Agnes, if you are there, your comment. Okay, it looks like Agnes is not available. Irene?
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Irene. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Yes, your comment?
Today I have, it was a reminder actually of what we are supposed to do, especially the exit interviews.
Yes.
They are mostly forgotten, so maybe we can improve on that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Irene. Yes, that is one way of retaining our knowledge resources, preventing people from exiting. That's why we conduct exit interviews so that we can learn lessons. Yes, our knowledge management system should be able to capture this. Jen, if you are there.
I have another question, or maybe comments.
Yes.
Further to conducting exit interviews,
Yes.
don't you think as HR we should embrace retention interviews, or sort of interviews of asking employees why they've chosen to stay in a company, so that you know, in as much as you're going to know why they are leaving, you also get to know the values and the issues that are keeping them on board.
That's correct. You are right. Most of our organizations conduct exit interviews and forget that there are those people who are remaining who may also want to be motivated so that they can remain. And yes, you are right. We can do this through employee satisfaction surveys so that we see what is this that can make them happy. So we should conduct this on a regular basis so that we don't wait until the end. So again, we should get knowledge of what the employees are feeling about their job, about their pay, and about their organization. Thank you. Neptune, if you are there. So it looks like Neptune is not available. So I want us to close. From my end, I want to thank you very much for finding time to be with us. We look forward to seeing you again next week on Saturday, the same time. Kindly register so that we can continue with the learning and acquiring new knowledge. So on that note, I wish you a good day and may God bless. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.